Yes, thank you very much. It's a privilege to be here again tonight and to speak about all these things. Uh, these things in life are very relevant, and you need to really attend to all of these things. The lesson of tonight is financial structuring. I'm not a professional on all these things. I've not studied any of these things in terms of a degree or so, but I know the outlines of it. And if you want to know more, you can really go to my webpage where it is Moneywise, www.moneywisegame.com. There you will find the course of the 10 steps to financial freedom. That's very important, to financial freedom. It's all about financial freedom. And there you will find a Moneywise course for free and lots of other material that can maybe help you. You're supposed, your bookkeeper or your auditor is supposed to help you concerning these things, although my experience is that they don't always know about it. So make sure that they do have a trust themselves, especially if you want to open a trust, because there's lots of people, I always say, I've studied theology, but I never studied how do you get to know the Lord. I've seen that people studied CA courses, but they never studied trust and these things. It's not maybe everywhere, but don't assume that everyone just knows it because they've got a degree behind it. There are really good people in the market. I can refer you to people if you want to know, but it is worthwhile to make some effort concerning this. You see, it's one thing to earn all these assets and money and whatever, and to get to the point of financial freedom. But one of our big problems is that people that do have something on their name, if you can say it like that, you really something that's worth it, more or less lose a third of it when they die. It's the place where people lose the most money is when they die. Believe it or not, on average. And that's scary. I mean, to lose such a lot of money. It's because it's your what is it, your estate, and there's lots of people in it, and it's attorneys and there's certain laws around these things, and if you do not have an attorney that's really a person of integrity, you've got problems. Yeah, I can tell you stories about these things. That's horror stories. People think that they're gonna inherit, and then the inheritance just disappear. I mean, just disappear. They get a little bit of money out of it, and then millions and millions is just gone because there was not wisdom how to structure it correctly. And along the road, too many people got their hands into it. And the place that people get most easily their hands into everything in your life is when you die. And if the things are not structured correctly, you will lose it. Maybe you will not miss it because you're no longer here. But financial structuring is not only for when you die, but especially when you are alive, because you need structuring to help you concerning the plan and the goals that you have concerning your life, and you need to educate yourself concerning it. There are different entities, if you can say it like this, in terms of which you can work, and you must in the first place understand very clearly that you as a person are a legal entity. The attorney is not a legal entity. He's just someone that helps us to structure things and to sort things out and to mediate it between different parties. The mandate lies with you. You are the mandate. The mandate is in you. Your signature gives validation to everything. And they need your signature for everything. That's why, saying go into a hospital, the moment you go into theater, you need to sign. It's not just like, everyone is acceptable. You need to sign because the mandate is with you. And that's very important. We've already talked about it, that the Lord talks to the person that's got a mandate. And you've got a mandate. You've got a mandate concerning your life, your plan, your future, your finances, and your estate and everything. It's very important to understand that you're supposed to live after you died. You can live after you died. I mean, I hear many, many stories about the Ruperts, how they're still living. Anton Rupert, he's still well alive on earth. I find many people that's still being blessed by that person year after year after year. He's still paying for people for their studies and lots of things, but he's dead already many years ago. But he structured things correctly so that he can keep on living and keep on blessing people and keep on being a factor on earth, even though he's dead. So that's one of the most important things in terms of structuring, is that it will determine how long will you live after you've died. If you structure things in such a manner that you can live into the future even after your death. But in the first place, we need structuring not only for that, but especially for before you're living. The first legal entity is, that we've said is you. I'm going to be very, just the outlines of it, because it's too much for a session like this. You are the most important entity. You can do everything in your name, a personal bank account. You buy your car in your name, your house on your name, everything is on your name, your TV, your everything, it's on your name. It's not wrong, but there's not very much security in that. It's maybe one of the biggest problems is that it's not secure. When you do things like that. I remember in my own life, I happened to be in an accident where the other person drove into me. Everything was his fault and whatever. And to make a long story short, is that he went to the court for the outstanding money on his attorney. He said to them, it's my responsibility. They never let me know of anything, and then the bailiff arrived at my house to take everything. I said to the guy, man, it's only 2,700 rand. Just take the, this set and there. I said, no, I'm taking everything. I'm taking everything. Luckily, I knew at that stage a little bit how to handle these things, and I could get out of the thing. I was never at his attorney. I've never seen the guy, and suddenly the bailiff wants to take away everything in my house because he made me responsible for his account at the attorney. That's normal in life. Things like this happen. You need to get security for what you have and what you earn and whatever, and how you do the things. After that, I've made drastic plans, and since then, something like that happened twice with me, twice. But luckily, no one could do anything. I just said to me, you can make a court case, you can do just whatever what you want. I've got nothing on my name. I own nothing personally. You can make a court case. No one will get anything out of me. I don't even matter. I don't even need to attend to this any longer. And nothing happened because of it, because I own, as I said, nothing on my name. And no one can get anything because I'm a very poor person concerning things on my name. So the second way that you can do business and things is what we call sole proprietorship, is that you can do business on your name. You've got maybe a cleaning business, but everything is running through your personal bank account. And there's lots of tax stuff, that's implications concerning all these things that I cannot tell you. It's changing from year to year. But that is what a sole proprietorship is, business on your own name through your personal bank account. Then you can get into partnerships. Maybe you and someone else, up to 20 people, can get into a partnership and we can do business. On average, partnerships, as far as me is concerned, and my experience, is not a good thing. Most of them ended up not very well because of differences and everything. And the moment one person in a partnership gets into bankruptcy, all the other are in it. Although it was his debt, although he didn't sort it out his finances correctly, you are part of his bankruptcy, and they've got a right to come and ask, money from you because you are in partnership with that person. Okay, that's one of the things. So I will not recommend partnerships to you. There's much better ways to do things. Then we have a closed corporation, or a CC, that stopped being issued from May 2011. People handling this is called members. They're busy phasing it out because they've made now small companies and bigger companies. In terms of private companies. So you get a small company up to 20 million turnover and 10 million assets in any company is seen as a small company. Everything outside of that is seen as a bigger company. And that makes things much more simpler in life at the moment. Although CCs are still valid in our country, there's still not a line been drawn against it to stop it. Okay, companies are far more complicated, got much more legality stuff, and it's controlled by directors, and it's a good thing to do business in. That's not a problem, but there's there's a very much legal stuff concerning companies. There's enormous lot of legal rules concerning it, much more than trusts. Trusts are actually a very much grey area still up till today. Far more grey than companies, because most people work through companies. Then the next one is the trust. Trust is a thing that's got its origin in England. You know, people went to war in the times of the Crusaders, so they gave their farms to the government, and they entrusted their farms that the government will farm there and then look after their family, and then they will get some profit out of it. The family, they will live there, and then when they get back, they can go on farming themselves. The trust is a very interesting thing to study and to see what's going on. It's all over the world, but trust, the laws concerning it is not the same everywhere, but it is all over acknowledged, if you can say it like that. It's interesting that in South Africa, trust is actually still not yet acknowledged as a legal entity, but it is so widely used that it is sort of acknowledged as an entity, because trust is actually a document that says that this is my the way I get an agreement concerning certain things and whatever. So don't worry that it is legal, but it was never decided to be legal, if you can say it like that. Because we come out of the Roman law, not out of the English law. That's one of the reasons why it's still not officially acknowledged, but your document will be officially be acknowledged as a trust. A trust is not so big troubles. You only need a bookkeeper. You don't need the auditor. It's still annual things that you need to present. Companies need to be what they call renewed yearly through your bookkeeper or through the auditor. A trust is started by a founder, and then there's some trustees that is handling the trust, and then there is some beneficiaries. That's the three people groups that's very important in a trust. We will maybe just get to it later on. Then there's just another one I can mention, that is an NPO, PBO, Article 18.8. NPO is a non-profit organization. If you want to do some sort of community project, you can start a non-profit organization. If you want to ask for money publicly, you need to have a further registration as a PBO, public benefit organization, to ask money publicly. And then you can register as an Article 18A, meaning that everyone that gives money, person, company, trust, whatever, you give them a certificate, and that certificate is a tax deductible item on the yearly books. It's not sort of directly deductible, but it's a tax deductible item that's worked out. It's like an expense. It's worked into as an expense. This is one of maybe the good things that the government started in South Africa, maybe about all schools and places that's doing human and medical work are registered as NPOs. You cannot register a church as an NPO, but you can register a project in the church as an NPO, like giving food to people. No spiritual organization solely spiritual organization can register as a NPO. Then they can give you 10% of their yearly omset. I always forget that word. Of their yearly what they earn, and they can give it or donate it to you, and you give them a certificate, and they can work it into their books. About all wealth creators that I know do have their own NPO organizations because they're doing their own community ministry. It's interesting that 68% of wealth creators do have their own community ministry programs that they're running, and they're not running it through churches. That's just an interesting fact to know. Why factors that's important concerning structuring, it's all about your plan. It's a security, the types of assets you're dealing with. It's all about risk, affordability, the size of your asset, accessibility, to support maybe handicapped people, tax exemption, transfer of tax, we'll get to that, inheritance, saving purposes, to be a bank to yourself, community involvement. There's lots of reasons you need to really take it serious, how you're going to structure what you're doing and the money that's coming in. Most people under-evaluate this whole structuring thing. But let me tell you, I've seen it. It is extremely important, extremely important. I always tell people, the guy that has given me the most money in this world is SARS. There's not a person that can give you more. Well, there can be more if your father is rich and you inherit really a lot. But it's actually on average, no person that can give you more money in this world than SARS. If you structure correctly, SARS say, well, if you do all this stuff and you're willing to go to all these lengths, I will give you some benefits in the process. I mean, there's tax laws that most people have never heard of. There's a tax law that's called Article 13 Sex, as SEX. It says that when you are willing to buy 5 properties in 1 year directly from a developer, SARS is willing to give you, I think it is 56% of the purchasing price of the property back over a period of 20 years. Believe it or not, that's what SARS are willing to give back to you. 56% of the purchasing price of the property, willing to give you back over a period of 20 years. Now, there's lots of ways how to do it and, how to structure it or whatever. But that's a tax law, Article 13(6). I mean, SARS are willing really to give you a lot of money. But we are not told about these laws and how to make use of it within certain structures and to implement it in our lives. And you can really go a far way. I mean, there's beautiful laws for developers, how they can, how they can keep some property that they develop and without tax here and there and all these things, from SARS, for all your problems in developing, we'll give you something, and you need to, if you've got really some, let's say some asset base that's really something worth it, you need to get a person that is let's say a tax professional to help you to structure up ultimately, and you can really get discount on your tax that's really incredible. I've referred people, and when they came back, their tax was from 700,000 back to 70,000 type of things. I couldn't believe it, but it's really worth it to get such people into your lives. Okay, the one thing I want to focus on tonight is a trust. Why am I so optimistic about the trust? What is a trust all about? I really believe that, when you marry, you need to get a trust on the latest in your life. When you marry, you need to get a trust and live your whole life and plan and dreams and whatever, at least through a trust. That's not the only thing. I'm not against companies. It all depends, as we say, according to your plan, what you're doing and what's the plan saying. But the trust is a separate legal entity that is not reckoned as your life. You're not supposed to live your life through a trust, if you can say it like that. The community must be in your trust. Well, no one is supposed to live just for himself. I mean, that's not a good financial principle. If you want to get financially free, you need to start to think about other people also, because it's not about me, mine, myself. It's about a life, and it's about generating money so that I can reinvest this money in other people. And the other people starts with your family, your next generations, and so forth, and other people that you want to get involved with, and you maybe help people that's maybe deaf people or blind people or people without food or whatever is your plan or your dream saying. But you get a trust as a separate entity so that everything in that trust belongs to that trust. It's no longer yours. Therefore, everything of me that's in my trust, my cars, my homes, and everything belongs to the trust. It no longer belongs to me. If there's any legal steps against me, everything in the trust is safe. They can whatever concerning me, but my trust, everything in my trust is safe. There needs to be a trust deed that is stipulating how you're going to do it. The average person needs a family trust. That's a very average document, if you can say it like that. Very wide and generally written, that allows you to have about everything in a trust. And the most important part of this trust is, who's the founder, who's the trustees, who will replace these trustees, how are these trustees chosen, how's the decision making, and who are the beneficiaries. Normally a trust is a discretionary trust. It doesn't mean that everyone that's a beneficiary necessarily gets money out of the trust or anything. It's all by the discretion of the trustees. It's not so complicated, but it's for people sometimes very new and they don't know the basics around it. But you need to settle yourself. I've seen lots of people attending MoneyWise, and break out financially, start to use all these companies and link their company and their trust together, and going on very, very well. It is not good to live, you're not supposed to live your life through the trust, but it's not good to package your assets in your personal name. It is seriously not a good way to do it because of the risk factor involved in it. So there's a trust deed with all these people. There's some really wisdom how you do these things. You can go to an attorney to help you concerning these things, but one thing that's maybe important is that every like my trust, every child and adopted child and their trusts are beneficiaries. Now you will ask me why their trusts, because that is the biggest loophole in our tax law in South Africa, is that you can move any amount of money from one trust to another trust without any tax implications. It's incredible. You can have a business trust, move money from your business trust to a family trust, and so you can go on. Sometimes people, they get angry at me when I say these things because they say it's not possible and this. I studied my stuff. I've got a trust already for 20 years. What happened in my trust could finance all my 6 children. It could take them through university, through everything. I could finance other people and projects and whatever. I really tell you, at 36, I opened up my trust, and it was the biggest, best financial thing I've ever done in my life. A trust will not generate money for you. You still need to generate the money in it, but it will make you profits in terms of, you can't compare it in terms of your personal name. I mean, having a property on your name, the moment you rent it out, that income is coming to your name, your personal income, and your tax bracket is higher. But the moment it's in a trust, you can work away all that income in many ways. You can funnel it into the beneficiaries as expenses. There's many ways to do it. I know people, all the bookkeepers do not always agree on how it can be done. But there's one thing about the trust, as I said, there's a very gray area in trust, and I'm not recommending you to go haywire in the trust and illegal. But there are really many gray areas in the trust that you can make use of. I've been made use of many, many years. Trust, SARS can ask me, they can tell me it's wrong or whatever, but in 20 years, they've never said to me it's wrong. They phoned me even, they've never questioned it. So you get bookkeepers that's very conservative, that will not allow you about anything, and then you get bookkeepers that say, listen, this is the gray area, we can move there. I mean, you can pay your children a salary in a trust out of the profits. I've got 6 children. While they were in the house, 6 times 7,000, gives you 42,000 rand of your profit that you can monthly work away just through your children. Without any tax implications. I mean, there's many, many ways to do it. If you make a lot of money and you get 100, 2,000 profit a month in a trust, well, somewhere you're going to pay tax. I mean, it's not that we're against tax. It's just a matter of there's very much leverage for, let's say, the average middle class person that's got his home and his heart for the home, family, the community, for other people. You know, that you can go very far with a trust, and it's all legal. I cannot see how you live life effectively financially without a trust, to be quite honest with you. For me, it made an enormous lot of difference in our lives. You get different types of trust, you know. You can open up a trust after you're dead, before you're dead. I don't know why you want to open up after you're dead. If you want one after you're dead, open it up now. Define what it is all about. Don't let other people define what's going to happen with your money and what you want to do with your money. There's different types. You can open up a trust for a handicapped person. There's really, I think 5, 7 types of trust that you can open. You can open up a business trust. You can even open up a trust that's got shares in it, a shares trust, a beautiful thing. It originated here in South Africa. I think my knowledge is correct. I think Hannes Dreyer started it. It's a very beautiful thing when you work with other people. It's the best way of a partnership to go into a property trust. And then we are maybe 2 people, 3 people there, and we've got shares in this trust. We can buy each other's shares. And that is a beautiful partnership thing, if you can say it like that. But it is not a partnership. It's in a trust. It's away from you. It's away from your personal life. And it's got flexibility that you cannot believe in it. Beautiful. I mean, there's such beautiful structuring things that's available at the moment that can make everything possible. But it's all concerning what do you want to live, where you want to go. Do you want to work with other people? Do you want to invest with other people? And get a safe structure that you can do things in. I always say a trust is the thing that you use to put in everything that the Lord has entrusted you with. That's for me beautiful. The Lord entrusts us with lots of things on earth. We are not the owners of it. He entrusted us with it, so it's in a trust, and then you can live out of that chickens, the eggs of that chickens, but the chicken goes to the next generation. That is very important. We don't eat the chicken, we eat the eggs. I live from the eggs, but not from the chicken. The chicken can go on to the next generation. And so we can work together, and we can have safe ways to do these things. As I've said, the attorney can open up through a trust. You can open up even yourself a trust. It's a bit of a slip if you do not know how. It's opened at the Master of the High Court. Companies is opened up by CIPC, but trust is at the Master of the High Court. And then you open up your trust. You need the right papers to do it. There's other people that I can always recommend you. That's normal, average people that knows a lot about the trust, that do it cheaper. It's cheaper. It will cost you at least 3,000 to 6,000 up to 18,000 rand to open up a trust through these people. You need to describe who are the beneficiaries in this trust. I always tell people never write any beneficiaries ID in there. Never write the name of a beneficiary, only a description of a beneficiary. Otherwise, everything you do in the trust, all the beneficiaries must come and sign, because the financial systems like the banks and they don't know what is a trust. They don't like a trust. And if they see an ID, they just say, this person is also involved. They must come and sign, and it makes life very difficult at the end of the day. When you have a trust, you must, let's say, rewrite your will, because your will and your trust must speak together with each other. The trust will maybe tell you how you can, let's say, choose another trustee or a follow-up trustee, but the best is not to, as I said, to put names in there. You can put the name of, say, the follow-up trustee in your will. You can put secondary things in your will that's important. Because the trust is always sort of the broad lines and the thing wherein the things lie, where you put the assets at the end of the day. You only need a bookkeeper. It's much more flexible. It's not so expensive to have a trust. If there's nothing in the trust, there's no books you need to present. But if there's stuff in it, you have to have books nearly of every year annually, and you must have administration concerning it. That's very, very briefly said. What is the advantage of a trust? The first advantage, very important, is security. It's all about security, security, security. I've been 3 times through an enormous attack upon my life to take away about everything. Well, actually, it was a 4th one, but that's another story. That's a bit of another story. But it's all about security and risk management. No one can take anything that's in your trust. Even though there's something wrong in your own life, no one can take it. It belongs to the family. It's a family trust. Even though you go to prison for what you've done wrongly, the family can stay on in the house, use the car and everything. It's all about, number one, security. When you're busy with business, the business statistics in South Africa is that 90% of businesses will fail or stop within the 5 to 10 years. That's not very good statistics. So especially, everyone, I believe, must have a trust, but especially if you're running any sort of business, you must get the protection of a trust. Because businesses, you're one day there and the next day you're gone. You can't always assure that things will go on like this and it will be secure or whatever. The second very important thing is that to do estate planning. As I said, people that have really got something in the estate will lose 1/3 of it when it's on their name, when they die. There's the executor's fees, there's state tax, there's a tax. If you've got a business on your name, the executor can even take 6.9% of all the profit as long as the thing is running. I don't know if you've seen, but to settle out a trust or to settle out an estate nowadays takes long and long and long, and I can tell you horrible stories. Why? Because the longer it takes, the more the money the attorney can take money from there. If it's not an honest attorney, they can take money. I've seen situations where attorneys take 80,000 rand a month out of that estate, and no one knows for what is it. You cannot corner them. You cannot even take them to court. It's one of those things. So make sure that people do not have an opportunity to be exposed to your money and put their hands into your money. Put it in a trust. I mean, my wife died last year. There was even not necessary to have an estate because there's nothing on her name. Absolutely nothing. We closed the bank accounts, we closed the phone contract, and over. It's the end of the story. You take 20,000 rand out of the trust, you bury her, and it's the end of the story. Because nothing is in her name or in my name. Very, 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 simple. Because it's in your name, they froze the bank account. And if you live out of the bank account that's on your husband's name, and the money there, you can't get the money out there. You need to plead the attorney for some money to buy just bread. We don't want things like that. It is not good. So estate planning is a very, very important one to have a trust. If there's me and my wife was married in community of property. The only way to solve that, because when I go bankrupt, she will go bankrupt. The only way to solve it, just go to a trust. To divorce and remarry out of a community of property, it's a long way. It's unnecessary to do it. Just go to a trust and everything is solved. To generate passive income in a trust is a very, very good way. You can even have a business trust. You can do. People prefer nowadays, lots of people, to do business through a trust and not through companies. As I said to you, there's lots of tax exemption laws concerning a trust. You can funnel money to people. You can move the tax responsibility to other people when you donate the money. When you move it from your trust to another trust, the other trust must have the responsibility to deal with the tax problem. But there's another ways in that trust that you can deal with that money. And I'm not talking about schemes. I'm talking about legal things. how you can do it legally. There's no way, there's enough legal ways to do things in a trust than to go to unlegal ways, to be quite honest to you. As I always tell people, I'm not against tax and these things. You know, SARS was my best friend for the last 20 years. So pay tax when you need to pay tax. Don't be against SARS and, you know, and speak against SARS and whatever. They've got their role, they're there. But if you're willing to do some extra miles and do some structuring, they're willing to give you a lot of, let's say, loopholes how you can reduce your tax. So do it. Why not? At the end of the day. Okay, there's lots of things that you can, I don't want to go into all of this, how you can do it concerning your trust, you know, all these tax things, maybe you must sort it out with the person that's doing your books. You can also donate to, as a couple, you can donate 200,000 Rand a year, 200,000 Rand a year, 100,000 each. You know, when I sold my car. Let's say your car is worth 200,000. You sell it to the trust, but the trust doesn't need to pay you. You say you can pay me whenever you want. Coming at the end of the financial year, February, me and my wife, we donate just you know, that money back into the trust. You own us 200,000, but we give you 200,000. So now we've donated the car into the trust. So in that way, you can donate your furniture and everything year by year by year. You donate it into the trust by selling it, but by writing off the money that you've that the trust own you. You can draw up a register of all your furniture and just sell it, and then year by year you donate it into the trust to make sure that they cannot, the bailiff can't come and get your furniture. You can do your long-term investments in your trust. The trust can become your personal bank. You must just have money there to make loans. There can be loan accounts. Just be honest about it, you know, how to do it. Lots of expenses of the family you can deduct from a family trust. There need to be books in a trust. You can have shares in a trust. And I said to you, the one thing that's good to have a property in your name is that when you die, the first 2 million is exempt from capital gains tax. That is the only benefit if you have stayed in the home. But the moment you rent it out, you've got problems because it's no longer like that. The biggest disadvantage of a trust is that the tax in a trust is 45%. The capital gains tax is 80%, but not straightforward. It's effective only 36% at the moment. It's the same in a company and a trust. But you know, for me, I've made so much money through the years out of the properties in the trust. You know, when you sell it and you have to pay capital gains, I said, oh, you know, what's the worries? Really, what's the worries? To have property on your name, renting it out, it's a big hassle. The tax you pay there and the insecurity and everything and the risk, you don't go there. Although my first property was on my name, but I later on moved it also into the trust. You can have more, I close down with saying you can have more complex structures, if you can say it like that. You can have maybe a family trust, and then you can have additional trust under the family trust. You can have companies under the family trust, and the shares of the companies can be owned by the family trust. And if there's profits in the company, you can pay dividends over to the trust. That is a lower tax. Dividend tax is lower than all the other tax. That's another way you can do the thing. And maybe one of the biggest ultimate ways of structuring is what we have in big companies. They've got a holding company on top. You can have even a trust and then a holding company, and under that company you've got other companies that's been held by this holding company. There's nothing in the holding company. Say like Google. Google is a holding company. It's just a company through which they initiate other companies. Then what they do, they make a lot of money in these other companies, these sub companies. But you get maybe you make in one company a lot of money, you can move that money to one of the other sub companies directly as investment to startup investment. That's a name for that type of money that they need to do. The other companies, it's a much more bigger legal structure. You can do it personally if you want, if you've got lots of businesses and things. It's all legal. There's nothing illegal. That's why people moan that Apple and these people and the beers, they don't pay tax, you know. Well, they pay very few tax. It's true. But those people, they initiate a lot of work where people work for them, and those people pay as you earn. So I don't think it's unfair necessarily, because these people, they take initiatives, they start up things that's maybe risky, you know, and it can fail. They give lots of work to people, and you must give them some sort of leverage, you know, and some sort of space where they can do the thing. So, but that's why you hear all this news that the beers is only paying 2% tax and this, and, you know, and iPhone is not, no, Apple is not paying, and you know, don't understand how it's working. That's because of structuring. They're not paying that type of amount of tax. So that's just an outline. It's a very important subject that you need to look at your structuring. And I really can tell you, I've seen people, the moment they break out financially, structuring is extremely important. It will not help you break out. It can be very useful in terms of, you know, the way you handle money. And especially in terms of SARS, there's lots of benefits in the right structure if you're dealing with SARS. Thank you very much.